no potential like you are sent to inferior planets like this. Thrown away and forgotten like the garbage you are.
With enough hard work and training, even garbage can surpass the elite.
That's quite a sense of humor you've got. You're about to learn the hard way that effort alone isn't enough to reach my level. Ha!
At almost 40 years old, I'm proud to say that I am a Dragon Ball Z nerd. Introduced to the famous martial arts anime in college, I immediately grew obsessed with Akira Toriyama's daytime soap opera-esque adventures of Son Goku and his battles against powerful threats to the Earth and galaxies beyond. An avid collector of VHS tapes, posters, and the numerous OVAs, Dragon Ball Z video games were not something I dove deep into because they were marketed as fighting games, a genre I was never good at nor patient enough to enjoy. I would dabble in them occasionally, most recently with 2018's Dragon Ball FighterZ, and while the shows lend itself easily to the genre, they aren't something I was ever into. Leave it up to Namco Bandai to give me what I always wanted without knowing. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is the definitive Dragon Ball video game experience I've been looking for since I first saw Goku challenge Vegeta for the fate of the Earth. This open-world, character-driven adventure delivers the right kind of accessible fun and stands as a monument to the franchise's continued popularity. There's no denying that Dragon Ball Z Kakarot was made specifically for fans of the manga and anime. The old fighting games could get away with reaching a broader audience, trading story for strong one-on-one fighting mechanics, yet players that have an intimate knowledge of the entire series are really going to appreciate what Kakarot has to offer. For reference, Dragon Ball Z is a continuation of Dragon Ball, a story about a kind-hearted young boy blessed with immense physical prowess. Gathering a close-knit circle of friends and masters, Goku keeps the world safe from megalomaniacs and powerful armies who would hurt those he cared about. As a new adult and father in Dragon Ball Z, Goku is forced to confront his ancestry after he is approached by Raditz, an alien claiming to be his brother. Dragon Ball Z's central theme is legacy, and it hits our hero like a sucker punch to the gut after he is revealed to be a Saiyan, originally sent to Earth to destroy it. Goku's time on Earth, along with the concussion sustained when his ship crashed on the planet, molded him into a protector of the weak instead. Raditz's arrival sets off a chain of events where Goku's legacy as a Saiyan brings destruction and devastation from a growing roster of evil madmen. The game is a catalog of the Z Warrior's greatest exploits, and it does a phenomenal job of leading the player through the events and encounters of the entire series, from Goku's first battle with Vegeta to the hard-fought victory over Majin Buu. In between these events, you'll engage with filler material through intermissions, performing light tasks for people as you go about your day. Kakarot combines open-world exploration with RPG character progression governed by experience points, giving the player plenty of things to do as they shape Goku and his friends into the premier Earth Defense Force. Presented similarly to the television series, right down to the recreated title cards, each chapter is composed of smaller episodes that appear as story missions spread out across the world map. Primary quests are narrow in their focus, built around characters fighting a series of battles. Moments outside of them are yours to indulge in exploring different areas to gather collectibles, engage in random battles, and interact with the planet's notable denizens through optional and rewarding side stories. There's a lot of different activities to participate in: cooking, fishing, learning new abilities, battling high-level villains, destroying enemy bases, gathering Z-Orbs, and even collecting the wish-granting Dragon Balls. So much stuff that I found it really hard to get bored. Although Goku is the primary hero of the adventure, Kakarot has you switching between major characters whenever the story calls for it. For example, the Saiyan saga is bookended with you controlling Goku in his fight against Raditz and Vegeta. The bulk of the chapter pivots between Piccolo and Gohan, whom the former has left to fend for himself against the savage wilderness as part of a strict training regiment. While Piccolo flies about training with Krillin, Yamcha, Tien, and Chiaotzu, Gohan learns to hunt, fly, and make effective use of his powers, distancing himself from the scared, crying child he once was. When not engaged with the story, you're encouraged to explore and see the world, collecting the hundreds upon hundreds of elemental-based Z-Orbs that are used to unlock and advance attacks and special abilities. You can also engage the citizens of Earth that include famous main and ancillary characters from the show's history, some of which might ask you to perform errands or lend assistance in exchange for experience points and items. Kakarot allows for playing at your own pace despite the constant sense of urgency so prevalent in this series. There's no need to rush from one main objective to the other, as you won't be punished for taking the time to get stronger and build up the party's repertoire of moves. The best way to do that is to collect Zorbs and experience points. Experience unlocks new attack moves and character-specific skill trees, and the Zorbs function as the currency to purchase them. Thankfully, Zorbs exist in great abundance and reappear each time you revisit an area, so there's no need to worry about exhausting the economy. Collecting these Zorbs is essential to ensure that Goku and his friends are properly leveled for those later, more difficult encounters. Spread out in various patterns over every nook and cranny of the map, there are 4 types of orbs to find, each based on one of the 4 major elements. Green orbs could be found around forests, red orbs near earthy plains, blue underwater, and so on. As characters increase their level, more skill tree slots become available that provide better versions of their attacks, such as Goku's Kamehameha and Piccolo's Special Beam Cannon. Advanced versions of those skills can be purchased, but only after learning them from special training exercises that pit you up against 3 high-level opponents. Another way to enhance characters is through the community board. This awkwardly named feature is modeled after the relationships and connections that Dragon Ball Z characters establish with each other over the course of the story. Represented on boards as soul emblems, the men, women, children, and godlike beings you meet are ranked across several different community boards: Z-Warrior, Cooking, Adventure, and Training, to name a few. Typically, these soul emblems specialize with one or more of them. For example, Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan have a high Z-Warrior stat, so you want to place them on the Z-Warrior board. Kami, Mr. Popo, and King Yemma rank high on the God board, and Chi-Chi on the Cooking board. Placing soul emblems on the appropriate board yields passive perks relating to that board, such as extra bonuses to stat boosts earned by eating meals, increased drop rates of rare items, and money collected by selling vendor goods. You can place soul emblems anywhere on a board, though if you take special care to orient them in a way that connects like characters, Goku to Gohan for example, you'll get an additional increase for as long as you maintain that relationship network. If that wasn't enough, relationships can be further modified by gifting special items to specific soul emblems. If all of this sounds confusing, that's because it is. It took me a while before I really grokked with how the community boards worked, and although it eventually clicked, I argue whether or not the sometimes marginal boosts offered by manipulating boards and soul emblems were really worth it, as their perks weren't particularly noticeable nor worth the trouble. There comes a time when adventuring, training, and orb hunting is interrupted by enemy encounters. Combat is where Dragon Ball Z Kakarot radically differentiates itself from any other game before it. Instead of treating combat like a fighting game or making it a turn-based affair, battles are conducted in real time, with attacks, defense, and item usage mapped to specific buttons on the controller. It feels very simple and streamlined. Pressing the melee button repeatedly triggers a combo attack that can be modified by switching out the last punch in a combo for a ki blast or energy charge with a knockback effect. Ki-based attacks require energy that can always be regained by charging up at the expense of leaving you defenseless, forcing you to look for the best possible window to pull back and recharge. Contrary to the high speeds Dragon Ball characters conduct themselves in a fight, you'll want to resist the instinct to spam buttons because Kakarot favors a more measured approach. Knowing when to back off and stay on the defensive is just as important as timing a Kamehameha blast on a stunned foe. As earth-shattering as Goku and the gang's powers can be, so too are those owned by the likes of Frieza, the Ginyu Force, and Cell, and they won't hesitate to use them creatively. Dodging has gotten me out of many deadly scraps in the nick of time, and if you time them just right before impact, the character will teleport behind the enemy and land a disabling counterattack. Physical and key hits can also be blocked, although the ability to do so degrades against sustained blows, and if you don't pull away, you risk suffering a guard break. The mechanics of battle are simple enough to grasp, and I like how it's designed to break habits I typically associate with brawlers. When I finally got a good handle on things, I bore witness to a perfect recreation of the grand spectacle that lies at the heart of Dragon Ball Z.
Is it now? I won't let it end this way. I would rather take my own life than be killed by scum like you!
Fine by me.
But the one that's going to die isn't me. It'll be you! I can survive in the vacuum of space. Let's find out if the same can be said for Saiyans! This planet will die! No! I must have restrained myself too much. But the core has been completely destroyed. In 5 minutes' time, this planet will explode and become nothing more than debris floating through space.
Technology was a handicap that held back early Dragon Ball Z games because hardware limitations made it impossible to capture the wild, over-the-top action this series is known for. How could older consoles hope to recreate the apocalyptic feel of Frieza's attack on Namek that would eventually rip the planet apart? The cartoon show literally explodes off the screen as characters power up, their muscle-formed bodies bursting with energy flares as they fire boulder-sized ki blasts capable of leveling entire cities. At the time, I was impressed with Dragon Ball Z Budokai for the PlayStation 2 because it used cel-shaded textures to mimic television animation. Fast forward to 2018's Dragon Ball FighterZ, a game that came shockingly close to what you'd find on the show because it integrated animated transitions and environmental transformations. Kakarot, however, exists on a whole new level of its own, as the developers clearly went above and beyond to mirror the cartoon, not only with camera direction, but also using high-resolution textures in a way that blurs the line between game engine effects and what I perceive to be traditional animation. What's really fun is how battles are programmed to respond with random cutscenes that pop up under certain conditions that really add a cinematic flavor to the fight. During the first legendary encounter with Vegeta, one of my special attacks triggered a seamless cutscene where Goku comes up close and landed a dramatic punch that knocked the Saiyan Prince's smile right off his face. Whenever my character was powered up, I had the chance of landing a blow so hard it sends the enemy flying through rock formations before coming to rest in a giant crater. High-end key attacks like the Mazenko Cannon and Vegeta's Gallic Gun actually leave scorch marks on the terrain. By scaling back on the player's interaction with the controls, you're given more opportunities than any other in this franchise to sit back and admire just how crazy and over-the-top things can get. And really, it's all just so damn rad. I imagine Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is bound to be beloved by fans for how well it adapts the source material into a playable video game where the bulk of the time is spent wailing on superpowered humans and death robots. Hell, this is the most fun I've ever had with a Dragon Ball Z game because it follows the story so well. It's heavy on fan service, complete with a compendium that tracks all sorts of Dragon Ball lore. Many of the side stories reunite the Z fighters with figures from their past and offer insight on what their lives have been like after crossing paths with Goku and the like. On the production side of things, both the English and Japanese voice track bring back as many as the original men and women who have voiced these iconic characters over the years. Although some are showing some age, voices are a little deeper and the delivery is different, there's no way I'd ever see them ever get replaced. Just as Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill will always be Batman and Joker, so too will Sean Schemmel and Chris Sabat always be Goku and Vegeta. Sound effects are lifted directly from the series' sound library, like the whooshes of throwing fists to the trilling effect that signals the start of the Kamehameha. The soundtrack leans heavily on the original Japanese music. No Rock the Dragon here, unfortunately, though I'm kind of bummed that they are not the original orchestrated pieces but rather synthesized recreations. With all of this fan service in place, non-Dragon Ball Z fans are going to be left scratching their heads, wondering why these people are screaming at each other all the time.
Come on, buddy. Don't fail me now.
For as much material there is packed into Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, there is content that didn't make it into the game, such as the Garlic Jr. mini arc, or traveling Snake Way to meet King Kai, with a short layover in the Home for Infinite Losers. The omissions don't hurt my enjoyment of the game though. So much of what I love about it is tied into my high interest for a cartoon show that I admittedly skipped a few night classes in college so I could see Goku spend an entire episode channeling energy into a spirit bomb. It's not perfect by any means. The community board doesn't feel nearly as important as the game makes it out to be. Some of the side stories are a bit of a drag, and the load times can get really annoying when a story moves you back and forth between areas, especially after Goku learns his instant transmission technique. However, the bottom line is the experience of playing as Goku and blasting fools with the Kamehameha never fails to make me smile. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot was designed for people like me, and it probably won't draw others who aren't already invested in the series. For us, though, Bandai Namco has delivered a gift to Dragon Ball fans the world over, a loving tribute to Japan's most popular and endearing addition to popular culture.
That's it. You're finished, Kakarot! Burst open and mix!
What the? No way!
Think you can handle this? Prepare to be flattened, Kakarot!
He's a giant ape!
Dark Station gives Dragon Ball Z Kakarot 4.5 stars.